Do you remember Red Skelton? If you don't, that's understandable. He hasn't been around in a while. However, he's one of my all-time favorite comedians, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone quite like him. Not in comedy, not anywhere. So let me tell you a little bit about him. Red Skelton was born in 1913 in Vincennes, Indiana, 2 months after his father, a circus clown, died. He never met him. He grew up poor, selling newspapers, and by the time he was 10 years old, he was already on stage, working medicine shows and showboats and vaudeville circuits, learning comedy the way a blacksmith learns iron, by getting burned over and over until he thoroughly understood comedy. Here's the thing about Skelton that I think gets lost today. We live in an age of comedy built on distance, irony, sarcasm, the raised eyebrow that says, "I'm above this." Skelton was the opposite. He threw himself all the way in. When he played Freddie the Freeloader, the silent hobo, he wasn't winking at the audience. He was Freddie. When he played Clem Kadiddlehopper, the good-natured country rube, there wasn't a trace of contempt in it. Skelton loved that character too much to make him a punchline at his own expense. That's rare. Most comedy about types, the yokel, the drunk, the con man, comes from a place of looking down. Skelton's came from a place of looking with. He'd spent his childhood among circus people, carnival barkers, drifters, and small-town characters, and he had never lost his affection for them. His comedy was populated by people he genuinely liked. And then there was the physical genius. Underneath the character work, Skelton was one of the last great pantomimes in American entertainment. He could take an ordinary human action, a man dunking a donut, a boxer getting hit, a drunk trying to walk a straight line, and turn it into something almost like a ballet. Marcel Marceau, the most famous mime of the 20th century, called him one of the best in the world, and that is not a small compliment. However, maybe the most telling thing about Skelton wasn't his comedy at all. Every single week, for years, he closed his show the same way. Good night, and God bless. No punchline, no wink, just a sincere, slightly old-fashioned wish for the people watching. In an industry built on cool detachment, he ended every broadcast with something close to tenderness. I think that's the real secret of his gift. Skelton wasn't funny despite being sincere. He was funny because he was sincere. The pratfalls worked because you believed, for a second, that this was really happening to someone he cared about. The characters worked because he wasn't mocking them. He was inhabiting them with love. That's a harder trick than it looks. Cynicism is easy comedy. It costs you nothing, because you're never actually exposed. What Skelton did took nerve. He put his whole open, sincere self into a pratfall in front of millions of people, week after week, for over 20 years. And he never once seemed embarrassed about it. In a culture that rewards the comedian who seems like he doesn't care, Skelton is proof that the ones who care too much, who love their characters and their audience, can build something that lasts. Something people are still watching and still laughing at more than 100 years after he was born. Good night, and God bless.